ghosts real? Several recent encounters suggest there might be more things in heaven and earth than we can dream of.
So are werewolves just a Hollywood creation, or do half-man, half-wolf creatures really exist? Now, tonight, we kick off our Conspiracy Theory Month series, which was a...
The legend of the vampire actually goes back for centuries, and it exists in some form or another in almost every culture. In fact, some people believe the first vampire story was in the Bible.
Well, for decades, only crackpots and crazy people believed in UFOs. That's what I thought anyway. And then in recent years, it turns out that governments have been taking them seriously all along.
Try and clear up an ancient mystery with the help of a prominent veterinarian who says she can prove that Bigfoot exists and that he's related to all of us.
New reports, 5 pilots coming forward over the weekend saying they've had multiple mid-air encounters with high-flying, fast-moving objects.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for tuning into Season 4, Episode 10 of the hit underground paranormal and supernatural radio show known as Celestial Oddities P.O.N.G, Pair of Normal Guys podcast. As always, I'm your host, Frater Crow.
And I am your co-host, Daniel James, and I sound worse than I feel.
You actually sound like a mystery novelist. You're like, as I walk down the corridor. So you get to deal with Mysterious Dan tonight, folks, but we're certainly happy to have you back. Make sure you click the like, share, and follow button on whatever platform you're tuning in from, whether it be iTunes, or actually I shouldn't say that anymore, we're not on iTunes, whether it be Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, or something else we're not aware of. Click the like, share, follow, and subscribe buttons. Get us out there. Helps move us up the podcast community ranks. Keeps you in the loop with new episodes as they air, and gives you unfiltered access to all of our past shows, past seasons. There's over 200 episodes, hundreds of hours of podcast underground entertainment for you guys from Celestial Oddities Radio, and we'd be thrilled to have you check it out. So tonight we are on episode 10. I sometimes forget, I have to look because they just blur together after a while as far as numbers. And we've had a couple of rearranging of guests and things of that nature. So it's been a little bit of a difficult season, but we are here once again nonetheless. Tonight we bring on our creative director, Natasha Sarver. She's been on the show before. Dan, do you believe it's been, I looked earlier, it's been over 15 months since we last had her on?
Yeah, I do believe it. And I feel like we should have had her more often because she's part of the team, you know, she's welcome here.
She is, and I'm certainly happy to have her back. Natasha, we're sorry it's been so long, but it was November of 2022. So we're going to be catching up with her, find out, how her practice has shaped since then, her business, her experiences, and a lot more. Talk different metaphysical content and topics, and we'll be happy to bring her back on. If you missed our last episode where we had Mike Bowser from Bump in the Night Society, great episode. We talked a lot of different ideas within the paranormal and supernatural ghost phenomena fields, because he is a paranormal investigator, goes to a lot of different locations, and we picked his brain on some things. He's running some great experiments. And if you missed any of our other past episodes, please make sure to check them out, spread them around. If you want to join our show, say hi to us, leave us comments, ask our guest questions. There is a way of doing so through any of the platforms you're watching on. Just leave a comment. It'll come straight to this dashboard. We will see it. We'll put it on the screen, and we will interact accordingly. So please feel free to join us. We always enjoy having people a part of the show. So Dan, you ready for tonight's show?
I'm very ready. Natasha is a friend of mine, which I'm grateful to have met through you. I love talking to her. I love hanging out with her. I love collaborating with her. So let's do it. Also, Amber Hunter, hello. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the show.
I love your voice, man. I just need to stay like this. I really am digging it. Like, it's very, I need to get a voice like that.
It's atmospheric.
It's atmospheric. It goes with the atmospheric music I'm playing in the background. It's perfect. Well, guys, without further delay, let's bring on our guest for this evening, our creative director, owner of Little Shop of Lilith, priestess of the Coterie of Samil Arcana Cult Order, and a member of the Celestial Oddities Paraseekers Paranormal Group. This is Natasha Sarver. Hello.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Hey.
I got my coffee, so we're good.
See that you made good time. You got it before we brought you
I was
on.
rushing.
Well, we tried to give it a little delay there so you had time to get it done. Folks, she had a little bit of technical difficulties before the show started. We still made it 2 minutes past the time, so we're good. Seems like for some reason when we send out the link to guests, sometimes they can get right on, sometimes they can't. And there's no rhyme or reason to it, but we figured it out nonetheless, and we are happy to be here tonight.
Yeah.
We have Daniel should try out for a role as Batman with that voice.
We're looking for Harvey Dent.
There you go. I like it. Now, I think we'll just jump right in, Natasha. You know, we had you on November of 2022, so it's kind of a pivotal crossroads, because shortly after that time period, you know, early portion of 2023, you joined the paranormal group that I lead, and we started going out and doing investigations together. You had already been a occultist for years. You've already been a ritualist. You've experienced other paranormal phenomena that you told us about in years past when you were a guest the first time years ago.
So long ago.
It was a long time ago. That was when you called in for the call-in show.
I know. I listened to that episode like a while back, and it was almost embarrassing for me to listen to myself trying to tell the story.
Demon babies, if I do remember.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about those tonight.
Okay. Well, I do remember you calling in from there. So you had paranormal experiences. You've done, you know, work with spirits in a ritual sense, but for the first time in your life in 2023, you got to go out and investigate heavily charged locations, specifically with the intent to talk to spirits and communicate with them. And since then, you've been to eight locations or more.
Yeah.
How has that been as far as a change for you, your experiences with it? I mean, how did you feel going into that, and kind of how that shaped your practice and your understanding of spirits thus far to date?
So I think that a lot of the change for me is perception wise. I feel like I'm able to perceive better, whether it be things in my practice or whether it be different spirits that we get around the shop, because I will talk about that. But we do have, you know, since I did the interview with you on uncovering the underground back in the day when the shop first opened, it changed with the amount of visitors that we have, we'll put it that way. But it I think has just given me a different perspective on learning to be quiet and listen rather than hit them with a million questions, if that makes sense. Paying attention to the smaller things, the things that I might have overlooked before, I'm not overlooking now. Being able to sense the atmosphere differently has been a big thing. But I think it really just opened my eyes to the evidence of it. And I had never really had that experience. You know, I had my demon baby or whatever, but there was no evidence to that except what I saw. And my family just thought I was nuts. So like being able to go out to locations and, you know, seeing the flashlight turn on, or seeing, you know, something knock, or the ghost box answer, or like some of our more recent things, being able to feel them physically, like it's a completely different experience.
It is. I think it's life-changing because, like I said, you experience them in a different way, and it's still nonetheless shocking, and it's very life-changing. But, you know, the common thing, and Dan and I have talked about it extensively on the show, is people will say, I've never had an experience. I don't know if I believe in it, or I had a one-off that was random that I wasn't asking for. I just seen a demon baby crawling down a back road at me, you know, something weird. So it seems so unpredictable, you know, but people say, what's the secret? Like, what is the big secret to going out and getting paranormal interaction? And I mean, it works differently for everybody, but the secret is just go out and get it. I mean, you have to go out, put yourself out there, sit down, talk. And as you said, you can't be nonstop asking question after question and bombard them. Don't get me wrong, there's still a lot of questions asked, but you have to ask a question, sit back and take time to listen and feel for the answer. Not just listen, look, see, feel, and just let them do their thing. You know, a lot of times they will. You just have to be quiet. There's no special trick necessarily. It is just a matter of getting yourself orientated with the energies of that location, the frequencies of that location, putting yourself in tune with it, and letting them do what they do. And you've seen it now. Obviously, we had a recent investigation we'll touch on here in a little bit where we took a couple of your friends and they got to experience it for the first time. And they said themselves that I had an idea of what I expected it to be. And then there is what it was. And it by far exceeded my expectations and blew my mind and changed me. And that's always great to hear when I take people out, because it's like, it will. It's just a matter of going out and sitting with them. The problem that most groups do is they ask question after question, and they're so focused on gear that they don't pay attention to anything. They're looking for that reading. Well, I didn't see any K2 spikes. I didn't see any flashlights go off. I didn't see any rope lights hit. And that's all something you watch for. But when you're only watching that, you also didn't see the door move to your left. You also didn't feel them come in the room and the temperature change. You didn't hear them verbally have a disembodied out loud, talk. The other night we heard that you had the headphones on, but we heard a man just outside the room say something very audibly. And there was no one there. So it's about picking up on those subtle perceptions that most people skip over.
And
it's
I think that they don't give it enough
flag
time.
in the background moving right now. See, it's subtle. There's your Hecate flag is slowly moving on its own. That's subtle.
It's like that. It might be the heater vent though.
Possibly.
Mundane before magical. But no, I think a lot of people don't give it a lot of time either. Like they will go, and I would be guilty of this too, like if it's not happening in the first 10 minutes, oh well, I guess nothing's here, like let's move on. And I did write down some of my top experiences for you guys, but one of them being like when we went to Hillview the first time before the team, when Britt and I were visiting with October to the convention there, sitting in that one room for over an hour, not using anything, not trying to get equipment hits, just sitting and focusing the energy. And that was some wild stuff that happened. But you have to give it that time. You have to give it that hour. You have to sit there patiently, or sit in a location all night and have one thing happen. So I think people need to realize that too when they go out.
They do. And that's a big, big problem in the field. And I mean, it happens a lot with groups, even our group. When you have 6, 7, 8 people sitting in a room, it's rare that all 8 of them are going to sit there for 2 hours. People are going to get up and leave pretty quickly, 15, 20, half an hour at most. Sometimes we do sit there for an hour, but I mean, a lot of times people get anxious. When I go by myself, I usually make it a habit to sit in every area, and I select the top one. So I only have one night, or I have 2 nights. There's this many locations. How much time can I spend at each one? Or you maybe, we experienced it. You had a great bit of activity in the one room at the beginning of the night. Later on, we came back and didn't get hardly anything. It depends upon time of day, time of night, so it's about planning, but sitting there. And Ryan, your friend, our friend that came, one of the things he said was he expected to sit for hours and hours on end before a single thing happened. He says, and it was the complete opposite. We sat down and the place went batshit the entire time. That isn't always the case, folks. I mean, that was the case in this one. And a lot of times you do get more activity than you would expect. So people think, oh, Hollywood shows are all bullshit because they show all this activity. And usually that is the case, but you will also experience a lot of activity if you're doing it right and you're sincere. Spirits understand if you're someone that they want to talk to or not. And a lot of times you're not someone they want to talk to. That's why you're not experiencing anything. But sometimes you will sit there, guys, for hours. I've sat in rooms for an hour and a half, 2 hours with nothing ever happening, or an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then something huge happened. Just one thing, boom, see an object slide across the table, and then that's it. But that's worth sitting for 2 hours to watch an object move on its own, or watch a door unlatch, open, and then shut again. You have to wait it out. It's like hunting. I don't like the term ghost hunting. I fucking hate it, but it is like hunting. You're going to go out and get a good buck. You don't just walk out in the woods and there it is. Boom. If you do, you're lucky. It's sitting in the woods days on end, hours on end in the freezing cold, waiting for that buck to descend over the hill. It's the same concept. Just don't use the term or I'll punch you. We have some comments here.
I can't talk about deer because I ran over a deer on the way home tonight. I'm really upset about it still.
You ran over a deer on the way home?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
Like, did you hit it and your car is totaled, or you ran over a deer that was already dead?
Like, it was already on the ground, but I don't know if it was dead or not. But I definitely hit it. Very, very. Yeah. Yeah, that's what Jamie said.
See, here's the thing. Folks, we gotta take a moment here before we dig further into her mindset on spiritual topics. Hitting a deer isn't uncommon. Hitting a already stationary deer on the road, now that takes skill. So for that, we give you the Celestial Oddities Award of the Night for, I don't even know how you accomplished that. So good job.
You're the first person who's ever gotten one.
Like just sitting there
I hate
laying.
you guys. So mean. I want an actual statue. Get me a statue.
Yeah. A little plaque.
Yeah, thank you.
So why don't you tell us, you said you have some favorite, happenings that have happened at the locations. Before we jump into a lot deeper conversation on some of the individualized topics tonight, why don't you tell us a little bit about some of the things you've experienced since joining the team, where your favorite locations or experiences, are or were, and let's dive into that a little bit.
I thought this through, so I do. I have it ready. All right, so Hillview, definitely was like I said before, my first time out, and Brittany and October and I had gone, my daughter, we had gone for the day and heard you speak and met Dan. And then that night, I think that in the hallway, feeling that whatever that was behind me, but hearing the box say October's name, and I don't know if you remember, but it said October, and I was like, I'm sorry, what? And it goes the little one, and I was like, okay, that's okay. That a box is not just going to say October, and it's definitely not going to follow it up with the little one when she is the little one standing next to you. So,
and that's what I love about spirit boxes, because you can get those. You have a lot of what's your name? And you're like, it said Jacob, and the whole group's like, it did, and it never said Jacob.
Right.
It's just like I attribute that back to the video of SpongeBob, and they played Job for a Cowboy over way back in the day. Like this was like 2007, 2008, something like that, and they play purposely the wrong words to Job for a Cowboy over SpongeBob. And as you're watching the words on the screen, it sounds like it, because it's such guttural vocals, that you believe that is exactly what it's saying. And it's ridiculous lyrics, but it's not. It's the same concept. Our mind will try to fill in the gaps when it doesn't understand something. So the spirit box, a lot of times, will say something similar to something, and we all hear something different, or we don't hear it and one person does, and everybody's like, yeah. So when you have that moment where it says someone in your group's name, and then you say, are you talking about her, or who are you talking about? And it says the little one. That's like a holy shit moment. Like, oh wow, it is actually talking to us. So that's awesome. That is a really good first experience.
So yeah, that was one of them, and there was other things like on that investigation. Like it was the first time I saw a flashlight turn on by its own and stuff, I think. October, actually, again, so two of these are going to include her. When we went to Blennerhassett Island, and we were exploring the mansion, and Sue took a picture of October in a mirror. And when we looked at that picture afterwards, there's two of them, and it is definitely not my child's face. There's something else showing up in that picture. I never shared it online or anything, but definitely one that I looked back at, and everybody in the group was like, I don't know what that is. We can't explain that.
It was significant. Yeah, it's a very strange, you showed me, it's a very strange capture. I mean, it definitely is a distorted face of someone or something else in that mansion, which has a lot of history.
I was saying hi to Britt, sorry. I saw her comment come up.
Hey, Britt.
Hi, Britt. And so let's see. So we went to Fairfield, and there was a little girl there that Brittany was communicating. My ear just started ringing. There was a little girl there Brittany was communicating with.
Hey,
and
Sue.
Hi, Sue. And she grabbed my hand, and I had felt a spirit touch my hand before, but I could feel it all the way up my arm. Now, what I find interesting about this is that anytime that I experience touch or contact, even if I can't feel it in the moment, aside from the coldness, the next day, I swear to you, it feels like whatever side that was, and usually it's my left, it feels like I worked out at the gym for like hours the day before, and my arm is just shot. So that's always very interesting to me. And I've been like tracking that as it continues to happen. So four would be Bill House, because I did say it right. It is Bill, right?
Bill,
That
yeah.
was, yeah, that was just a really different way, a different experience. I know you guys have talked about it on here before, but we were able to uncover a lot with the rods and the cards, and it was a different type of communication and really pieced together all of that stuff, which was wild to me to then have a lot of that confirmed. So it wasn't all in our head, couldn't have been something we were making up. And the way that the cards and the rods were working together was just, it was too on point. And
No,
then
I agree. Hey, Tom. Hey, Britt. Hey, Sue. And Brittany says hi, Dan.
Welcome to the show.
St. Albans, so where we just were, was the last one. That was obviously very active. I spent a good 10 minutes when we were downstairs in the men's, I called it the green room, but the men's green room, questioning whether or not I was getting choked. And I didn't say anything about it. And then when I did, the box said yes. I think you asked it, and it answered yes. And you said who, and it just said me. And you were like, why aren't you shielding? Like, shield, you know what to do with this. But I was so caught up in trying to figure out if I was imagining it or not. You know, I had headphones on. I was like, maybe it's just cutting into my neck. But no, I could physically feel 4 different fingers gripping here. And when we left and went back to base or whatever, there were the marks on my neck. So that was an interesting experience.
Yeah,
And
very angry spirit there. He was not a fan of the ladies, guys. He kept pointing out that women, like, because it was the men's ward, the men's green ward of the psych place, and he was not a fan of women. He multiple times said women, and then we could tell there was anger behind it. And we says, "What is your problem with women?" And he came through, same voice, bitches, very clearly. And then he choked Natasha, and we said, "Are you choking her?" And the same voice came through again, yes. And I says, "Who's choking her?" And he said, "Me." And it was crystal clear. The whole group heard it, and it was like, holy shit, okay. Very angry man. There was an angry woman named what was it? Anna. Anna
Mm-hmm.
came through too, and she was pissed off. And she probably, because she was in the men's ward, she's probably like, how did I end up here? With this jerk off, that's next to me. But it was a very interesting St. Albans. I have to say, there has been a few places that have stood out because of just the sheer level of activity. St. Albans was packed. Every room we went to, there was activity. There wasn't one room we went to that we didn't get something.
Yeah, it was
which is rare. So for someone's first time, like Ryan and Tori and them, it was a really good first experience to say, like, wow, like, okay, is this what it's like? No, this isn't what it's like, but this is what it's like for you the first time.
Yeah, Ryan's still telling, making sure that people know how I answered the spirit, because my first response was, you're not even doing it right. So he's like, only you would go in there and insult the man on his choking skills while he's choking you from beyond the grave.
But, yep, we have a comment right now from Trevor. Is that when Natasha said you're not even doing it right there? It popped up.
Words gotten around.
No, that's great. I'm glad to hear, and we'll let Batman jump on and ask you a question here in a second. I'm glad to hear that, after our last time with you on the show, like I said, you joined the team, you got to see spirits in a whole different way, because you don't know unless you know. It's truthfully the thing I tell everybody. There's so many people that know that I've been doing this for a long time, and they're like trying to get me to explain what it's like, or trying to get an understanding by talking to me. And I'm like, you can't know unless you go. Yeah. And a lot of people, I would never go do that. I'm like, well, then shut the fuck up. Why are you asking me even about it? Like, well, I don't care to tell someone who's never going to want to experience it themselves. So I'm glad you chose to join the team, chose to go out, experience that. And the great thing is every time it's different. You could go to St. Albans again and there'd be nothing. I mean, you just never know when they're going to come out, when they're not. But fortunately enough, our team has been very fortunate to get activity consistently every place we go.
We have a great team.
And we have a great team. And some of them are on here tonight. I want to give a shout out to Brittany, to Sue, to Tom. I think that's the only members on right now, but shout out to the rest of the team as well. Ken, Tara, Destiny, Dawn, all of those guys. We love you. We appreciate you. And thank you to Celestial Oddities and friends, since we have friends that join us from time to time, like Ryan, Tori, and EJ. So, Dan, why don't you jump in and ask our guest this evening a question? I want to hear it in your tone.
A question. Well,
Can I address you as the Dark Knight before you do it?
yeah, I'd be offended if you didn't.
Okay.
Daniel, I mean Batman, you got to give us an... All right, let me try this real quick. We have a request from chat. I am vengeance.
That's it. It's a very deep tone, man.
That was not my best Robert Pattinson. Seriously, Natasha, you bringing like the viewership up tonight. I feel like our chat's like popping off. Viewers numbers are up.
About us, Dan. It's all her. People are like, these guys suck, but she's cool, so we're gonna watch her.
See, you guys should have had me on more. Look, this is good.
I guess so.
Natasha, have you ever seen a UFO? Have you ever seen an alien?
So listen. No, I haven't. However, I don't know if you saw my Facebook post. I saw some burning flame. I'm looking at my back door because that's like where I saw it out of. This burning ball of fire comes shooting down from the sky. And it was not a comet, and it was not some piece of a spaceship. I'm telling you, I know what I saw, and it was like, I should not have been able to see it flaming up in the sky from where I was on my porch. So that is an unidentified flying object to me. And I don't know where it went. It was so big that I braced for impact, Dan. Like I was like, well, now I'm gonna die. Like it's coming.
Okay. That's excellent. So let me explain what that is.
It's excellent that you felt like you were gonna perish.
I'm so glad you were in that much fear. No, seriously. So that was an extraterrestrial craft. Oftentimes they can be mistaken as meteors, things like the shooting stars. It's not. So there's the majority technology type of ET craft. When it comes into our atmosphere, when it comes into our density, there's not like a chemical reaction, but there's like a frequency dissonance that happens where the technology of the force fields around their ship, their protective fields, it has a reaction to our atmosphere, to our space, and it creates a combustion, an actual flame-like combustion, like almost like an extreme friction type that'll create actual flames. And it's obviously not harmful to their ship, but it creates an awesome light show. So I've seen many of those. I haven't seen any in Western Pennsylvania, but I used to see the balls of flame in Western New York and in Washington State on a regular basis. And that's just because the nature of their technology creates that sort of atmospheric frequency dissonance where there's a combustion that happens. The closest analogy that I have is a chemical reaction, but it's not chemicals, it's technology. So their whole ship will surround in flames, and it's totally harmless to their craft, but that's like a natural sort of phenomenon that happens. And so those are oftentimes ET craft. It's impossible to identify what species it was or what race, specifically because so many of them use that same technology that'll create that reaction. It's hard to identify that. But I would absolutely say without a shadow of a doubt, it was a UFO.
Listen, Dan, I have to ask you a question. It's very important.
Please.
Could it have been one of my unicorn brothers and sisters?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
And the reason why I say that is because no sighting ever by anybody is an accident. It is a synchronized, pre-organized sequence of synchronicities that your star family will line up from their version of reality to yours, to a probable timeline where it's highly probable that you will see them, you will witness them. And so it's always intentional. It's never an accident. It's never like right place, right time, coincidence type of idea. There's a sort of a cosmic order to these things, like an attraction. And so I think that whenever somebody does see a UFO, it's generally organized, and you usually have some sort of connection, relationship, or affiliation to that race.
Well, that makes me even more excited and not as scared for my death. So.
Absolutely.
No, I love it. Hey, jump into a comment real quick. I missed one earlier, and I want to jump back to it before we get too sidetracked. Same gentleman or lady, I guess it's a lady because it looks like there's an emoji. Nocturne. Nocturne. I can't read it. I had a similar experience when I was a little kid, talking about Natasha's alien experience or UFO. But earlier they asked St. Albans in Queens, New York. No, this is St. Albans in Radford, Virginia. It was an old sanatorium, originally a boys' school built in the late 1800s. 1914, 1915, I believe it was taken over as a sanatorium, and wasn't the nicest of places. Most sanatoriums and sanitariums, are known to be. So known to be as meaning bad, they're not known to be good. Let's see what else we got here. We got a bunch of comments.
Ernest says, I think it's interesting how sometimes people see UFOs but then forget, while others remember it. So another explanation for that phenomenon is that each of us, even if you are standing next to your friend and you're in the same room as other people, you can literally be in a different version of reality from that person, because people can have such a radically different view and perspective or level of consciousness on the nature of reality that it isn't even in a sense that they're in denial of the things that they saw or unwilling to see things like that, but they can be in such a frequency dissonance where they literally don't remember, or they don't see a UFO when they're standing right next to two other people that do, because they're just totally in their own version of reality where their vibrational frequency isn't even a synchronistic match to being able to experience something like that.
I agree with that. I 100% agree with that. Jesus Christ, Natasha, we can't keep up with the comments. Your people are blowing us up.
I'm sorry.
Let's see here. I've seen some things while trucking. Sometimes I could just say they were shooting stars, but sometimes they're flying way too low and way too fast. That could be the case. I mean, sometimes if you stare at the stars long enough, you see them do strange movements that don't quite make sense. Now, to our viewer, I don't know if with the E on the end, if it's Nocturne or Nocturne. I actually know who you are. I'm sorry. You said that in one of the comments you found me through my interview with Alistair Noct. Shout out to Alistair Noct, lead Satanic Magus of Magnum Opus. Yeah, great interview. If you haven't checked that out, go check out me and him just kind of shooting the breeze for a while. You and I, brother, have talked a couple of times on there. I didn't realize it was the same name. It just hit me. Sometimes, there's a lot going on up in this head. You did ask how we have time to, cipher and weed out different species of beings and spirits. Now, I can only speak for myself, and we'll let the others answer. I have just through extensive ritual. I mean, through ritual, I've worked with elementals. I've worked with nature beings. I've worked with spirits of the human dead and non-human dead. I've worked with what I would call interdimensional beings of sorts. I've worked with demons, daimons, the different classes. And the reason I say that is three is I could separate them into three. There are demons, parasitic entities. There are the daimons and daemons, which are more higher intelligence, super consciousness that you work with, worked with angelic spirits of sorts and Olympian type beings. So over time, just through ritual, through meditation, through different workings, have been fortunate enough to come into contact with different types of intelligences and been able to jot down in my grimoire, my experience, what I've felt, what I learned, reflections back on these type of beings, and then just a hell of a lot of research. I mean, I just have spent years reading everything I can possibly get my hands on. I'm a voracious reader. And that's kind of how I have been able to weed out these. Now, Natasha, why don't you jump in? And Dan, you can do that as well. How have you kind of vetted your knowledge of spirits and the things you work with? I mean, has it just been through application and practice, or has it been through reading, or what's built your plethora of knowledge?
Dan, you first, or you want me to go?
Sure. Yeah, I'll go first. So it first started with personal experience. Having encounters my whole life with the paranormal and the esoteric, whether it's spirit, whether it's cryptids, whether it's extraterrestrials. This is something that's been part of my life since I was, as early as I have memories, a little kid. So I've seen so many different shapes and sizes of creatures that you start to build your own mental database in a sense of what they look like, what general shapes and sizes they have, what kind of their characteristics or behavioral patterns they have. And then when I went through my spiritual awakening in 2012, that led me into connecting with extraterrestrials, ET races, extraterrestrial consciousness. And when that became a reality for me, started working with ET races, I've networked with groups that they have actual terms, they have actual names, they have actual databases of the entities, the spirits, some of the current types, definitely all of the cryptids. There's a whole database of cryptozoology on and inside planet Earth that have titles. So through working with extraterrestrials, I've then been able to identify a lot of the things that we discuss on the show that have, not just characteristics and behavioral patterns, but a race. They're part of groups and communities that are very much like us.
And it's the same thing, man. I mean, just working with what you work with, what you're drawn to. The more you put yourself out there, the more you reach out and have a true, sincere attitude. That's the biggest thing. Be humble, be sincere. Don't be cocky. Don't be, ignorant. If you're polite, you're sincere, and you truly put yourself out there, shit's going to come. I mean, it's just a given. I mean, that's what I said earlier. There's no secret to this, guys. It's just putting yourself out there. I said those who dare are the ones who discover. And that's it. I mean, Dan and I have talked about, excuse me, Dan and I have talked about this before. I've never had an experience. Well, when's the last time you went and sat in a graveyard at night by yourself for hours and said, come and talk to me? When's the last time you did that in the middle of the woods by yourself at night? When did you go to a haunted location that is in your town that's abandoned? Oh, the old abandoned house on the hill. Don't be afraid of it. Go sit in the fucking thing. And if you do that enough times, 2, 3, 4 times, maybe it's your first time, you will have an experience that is beyond your comprehension of current reality, that will make you sit back and say, oh, wow, now I question everything I ever thought I knew. And
Right.
all you need to do is snag that fabric.
Yep.
And what I mean by that is you just cause that littlest of fray in your mental fabric.
And that expands you.
And then it just starts to kind of weed away until there's a big pocket and hole. And then the
seed
whole
is
world
planted.
starts coming. The seed's planted, the tree grows. Natasha, jump into your research on spirits.
So research is just, I mean, I guess I could turn my books. I like books. I read a lot of fucking books. I have a bit of a problem with books, to be honest. But so I did not work with entities for a good period of time. And that is because when I got a book on Wicca when I was 17. My high school boyfriend was a Buddhist, and one of the first things he ever gave me was this Scott Cunningham's Wiccan book. And I was like, oh my God, that sounds really cool. I'm a witch now. I'm going to go home and do the witch things. So I lit a candle in my room. I turned off all the lights. And I've told this story in classes before, but I just put my hands up in the air and I was like, okay, come in, everybody, come in. Candle blew out, wind, gust of wind through my bedroom. No windows open, wild shit that just would not have expected to happen. And I scared the crap out of myself and was like, I'm never calling anything again. Well, once you call them, they're there. I had a very traumatic car accident about a year later. And I have no doubt in my mind that Hecate was with me through that she was, part of what pulled me out of the coma that I spent 2 weeks in and stuff. So the entities, once you call them in, the energy will stick around. But now, I mean, now it's just, we've got entities everywhere. So it's really just finding the differences between what they feel like is a big thing to me. I'm getting better at that. You can tell the difference between a human dead spirit and a demonic spirit, or daemonic, and then demonic, an attachment. Jinn, I got to experience what I believe is a jinn. That's not a fan. Can't say I'm a fan.
I heard they never go away.
I don't think they're going to. But yeah, it's not in the shop. Don't worry, guys. So no, and just I lost my train of thought. This is what's going to happen all night. But the energies between the different entities is what's really big to me. And I think that when you start to pay attention to, just like I was saying with the investigations, when you start to pay attention to the little things, the little changes, the little nudges, it starts to fall into place, and you can start to mark that and track it. Now, UFOs, extraterrestrial, not my thing. I couldn't tell you if one was standing in front of me, but that's, down the road. I need more books, so.
Now, before we go any further, two things I want to point out. EJ, I'm sorry, brother. I don't know what the hell happened there. You left a comment that said respect goes a long way. When working with the spirits, I tried to click on it to put it on the screen, and I don't know if I clicked the wrong button or it just doesn't like you, and your comment's gone, and it said it hit it, and now I can't figure out how to unhide it. So that's never happened before. So EJ said respect goes a long way. Now, we do have another comment here from Hunter.
Let's see if Natasha can answer this one for Hunter.
Good, because I have a Dan answer to it. But we're gonna we'll see what Natasha.
Why did you say it like that?
I want to hear your perspective. I'm sure.
I'll tell you what, let me read it off too, because it doesn't show it all on screen. So it says, a few days ago, I ran into this random person at the store, and we bumped into each other by accident and just looked at each other. And like the energy was weird in a way that we looked at one another and it felt like we knew each other, but have never met before in our lives. My heart started beating heavy and I felt like I knew this person. It was so weird. Any thoughts on this? Could this just be a coincidence?
This is from Hunter? Is that what you said the name was?
Yeah,
I don't have my glasses on. Hunter. Run. Run, Hunter. Don't look back. So let me... Could be a coincidence. Do you see me trying to compose myself? My mom just told me no more books. Publicly. It could be a coincidence. It could also be somebody that you are already familiar with from a past life. It is also a good possibility that there could be a soul tie with that person. I'm very big on vampiric magic and studies right now. I just did a lecture on it last month. Soul ties, people are always like, oh, so beautiful and love of my life and all these things. It's not like that, guys. It doesn't usually always work like that. It might feel very good, but a lot of times soul ties are in your life to teach you a lesson. So that's why I mostly jokingly said, run, Hunter. When you meet those familiar people, it could be because there's something coming down the road. So did you get her number? I need to know what happened. You can follow up. And
it's a her. How sexist of you.
Okay, or his, or they, or anyone.
Person.
I don't know if we got digits or not. So how far we have to go with this? Because
jeez, oh man, the assumptions from this one. If I can give a Dan answer real quick,
please do.
Hunter. He's a part of your soul tribe.
Yeah.
He's a part of your soul pod.
Okay, I was going there. I just didn't say soul pod.
Dude, that's perfect. That's what I would have said.
But seriously though, Hunter, I think there's it could be either. It could be coincidence and some reason there was an energy coming from the two of you that you noticed each other, or it could be, and oftentimes we travel in the same circles over and over again through different reincarnations. So there's a lot of new people you meet that have nothing to do with past lives. They are new people. There are a lot of UPGs, or not UPGs, but NPGs that are NPCs, excuse me, NPCs out there that are just actually not real people and they're just part of the matrix. But you come into contact with them. But then there is a little tiny group, your soul cluster, your soul pod, and
there it is.
You do travel with them again and again as different names, as different people, and you might recognize that you've been in contact with them in past lives. You might seem new to you and you just met this person, never had any energy feeling like you did with this other individual, but you have met time and time and time again, because we have lived here, folks. And some people say, well, that's an awfully big assumption that some people don't believe in reincarnation. Well, they haven't ascended high enough to experience it. So, you do come here again and again and again and again and again and again. Eventually you might break free, but it's a lot of years. You're here 1,000, 2,000 times, and we get to experience this life in all kinds of different bodies, men, women, and different, just so we can experience it all. We're God experiencing God through God's eyes as non-God, if that makes sense.
So Hunter, I can say then that the question would be, what did you feel? Like just the familiarity, or go deeper with what the feeling was? Because if it was this comfortable, like if there was this comfortable familiarity to it, then that's a good chance that it is like the soul pod. It's part of your tribe, something like that. If there
Hunter,
was a different feeling, that's when you might want to take my advice and just, go that way.
Hunter,
It was the furthest from comfortable, he says.
I
The
thought he was,
furthest from
I thought he was gonna
comfortable?
say I thought he was going to say it was a woman, and we tagged
Wait,
it out back next to the dumpster right after we met each other.
He's like, well, I had an immediate boner, so.
There was
Wait,
an immediate friction. And
comment.
there was an immediate friction. I looked down and realized why.
Well, that could be good or bad, so.
To Nocturne, you can hit me up through the Skype. I think I still have it. Or you could message me on Instagram, or I'll tell you what, here's a better one. celestialoddities@gmail.com. celestialoddities@gmail.com. That's the best way for anybody to reach us, and we will make sure we get back to you. He had a private question he wanted to ask, so that is why I was giving that out, folks. But if any of you want to use it, you can reach us on that as well. Yes, Sarah, you do come back here again and again. Brace yourself. It's happening. It says also about Natasha, there's a spirit around me claiming to be a vampire, and he keeps calling me Persephone. Please don't think I'm nuts. I mean, I don't know, man. Maybe she can answer. It's hard to say. There's a lot of weird shit out there. I don't look as anybody as nuts because I've experienced things that are absolutely bonkers. So reality is very different for me than most. So who's to say? Natasha, what are your thoughts?
My personal thoughts are going to be that if this is a spirit entity, not a human person that works with vampiric energies, if it's a vampiric spirit, you need to be very, 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 I'm underlining, cautious. You can get drained extremely easily. They will come off as seductive. They will come off as flattering. Some of them are just straight nasty. Use caution when dealing with that and keep a distance, I would say.
My mind's in the gutter, guys, because whenever she said that, I kept thinking of the story of Hunter and the chick behind the dumpster.
Because I was talking about dicks earlier.
And Natasha's like, you got to be careful. She might be a vampire and you will get drained. And Hunter's like, well, shit, I think I met a vampire because I got drained.
Like, sign me up.
No,
they'll make it feel good. It's just the after.
Yeah, but you're dying while it happens.
You can be.
Can I actually say something about vampires real quick? Can I?
Please do.
All right, so for the funsies of it, vampires are real. Okay, so fun fact about vampires in the traditional sense, not energy vampires, not psychic vampires, but like the kind we see in the movies. Turns out they do exist. They're not exactly like we have been sold that they are in fiction, but there are similarities. So quick little lore drop about real vampires. We have blood-sucking, flesh-eating, human-like vampires on Earth with us. Mm-hmm. They do live in the shadows. They do live in hiding. They do live to be older than average humans. They do feed on blood. But one misconception is they're not beautiful, sparkling superhumans that are sexual and sweet talk yet. They are more so, this is the big misconception, here it comes. They are much more so like traditional zombies than they are like the magical superhumans that we see in movies. So that means that they drink blood because they can't sustain hemoglobin. Their bodies are always in a state of decomposition. And if they drink blood, consume flesh, it will prolong the use of that physical vessel, that avatar. The entities that puppeteer a vampire as we know them, they can jump from body to body, but they'll use the same body as long as they can before it gives out. So they're more so in a zombified state than they are like we are, or in like a perfect health, non-aging, perfect physical physique. That's not the way that it is. They're disgusting. They're literally rotting. Their bodies can be like 200 years old, and it somehow can still get around because they extract not just the biological properties from blood that keeps their organism moving like a machine, but they're also getting the energy source. They're getting like an energy currency as well that sustains their ability to keep puppeteering that dead vessel for longer. They live in all of the countries and the states that are known for them. They do live in castles, but that's only because they like abandoned places. They like to be alone. They like to live in hiding, and they literally do only come out to feed. So anytime people have had reports of like being physically attacked, like bitten, things like that, these are like actual vampires that need blood to live. And they also don't have fangs. They don't have like sharp teeth like they do in the movies. They just have our teeth. But they'll also even sometimes use cutting utensils to get blood out of people easier. So anyways, long story short, vampires do exist, and they're disgusting, rotting corpses, more so like a zombie than they are beautiful, sparkling, sort of like...
No Edwards.
No Edwards, not in real life. These are the type of things that you just fucking don't want to encounter, period. That's all.
Nocturne, I would say no to your question. He said, and I'll throw it up on the screen here. It says, if you work with spirits, will they automatically keep negative and harmful spirits away from you? I mean, it's possible that they can assist in helping keep spirits away from you as a sentinel, as a guardian. You can different ways you can make egregores, as sentinels around your property to protect your home from people that shouldn't be there and to help keep them away. You can use other spirits. I mean, Hecate, for example, I know Natasha and I both work very heavily with. She will help keep negative things away from you. Yeah, stuff happened behind Natasha when I said that. She will keep things away from you, but we were talking about this just before the show. I did a recent purging. I did some different plant medicine that will just clean you out. You will puke, you will shit, you will be not good for a couple of days, but it's because it's cleaning any astral parasites from your auric field. And it'll clean it from your body, from your mind, from your emotional psyche, and from your spirit. So it'll clean all 4 levels of you completely out. So even throughout the spiritual work I do and through the workings of spirits that I work with, they do help keep things away, but I still had things all over me, unbeknownst to me, even with heightened perception. And this cleansed that. And as Dan and I were talking about, they will come back. They always come back. You have to do cleansings all the time. Here's the thing, is you meet a lot of
regular maintenance.
You meet a lot of Satanists, any type of practitioner, but I meet it especially in the left-hand path in Satanism, that don't believe in any type of precautions. They don't believe in any type of preparation beforehand properly to cleanse. They don't believe in any type of aftercare of cleansing. They don't believe in any of that. They don't use circles. They don't use triangles. And they don't realize that there's reasons for the triangle manifestation and the circle of evocation. There's reasons for the confession. People are like, oh, confession, what a fucking Catholic thing. No, confession is to let go of any baggage that you hold on to yourself before stepping in line with a monster. You are calling up a demon that will try to exploit you. It's not your friend. It's something that you work with, that you become to a mutual understanding. You build a friendship of understanding, not an actual friendship, like a work partnership. And if they can find weaknesses inside you, they will exploit those weaknesses and they will destroy you. It's like stepping into the fire. If you've tempered yourself enough, you don't burn. But if you haven't, you're going to fucking burn. And they don't care either way. So, I meet a lot of people that are on the left-hand path and they'll say, well, I don't do any of that shit, pussy stuff and blah, blah. Yeah, well, good luck, bro. You know what I mean? Because I actually live this life. I actually do this shit. And I can tell you as someone who does it very avidly, I still have parasites on me and still just did a cleansing the other day and became violently ill for a few days. But afterwards felt phenomenal because I peeled all these little fuckers off me that were on there. And from time to time, you have to do that. So that's just real talk. So anybody tells you different, they're either slowly killing themselves or they don't actually do magic. And let me tell you one thing again, folks, and we'll jump to the next section because it's Natasha's time, is a lot of people don't actually do this shit. A lot of people in the occult. That's why they call it the occult scene, because it's a bunch of fucking LARPers running around jerking each other's dick about what they do, but they don't actually do. Some of us really live that.
Sexist.
Side question real quick. So Natasha, why don't you explain the chat for anybody who's unfamiliar who Hecate is? Or Did I say that right?
Yeah, but like, so she is a goddess. She is my matron, my main entity that I work with. She has a ton of different history. A lot of it traces back to like Greek will be like the first one, or the one I should say that she is most known for. But she is one of the ways I work with her a lot at the shop now, and that's not how it started out. But I bring her into a lot of the work that we do there. And I have watched, I can think of 5 people off the top of my head right now that are now very much under her cloak, her wing, and growing for it. And many rituals that we have done circled with her that, you know, are good for that. But she is the goddess of witchcraft, to put it very simply. And as the Hecatian book that I've been reading, but I really like how it just says she is the one that if you call her, she will come. She will come every time. Like she shows up. And I think that that's a lot of what she stands for, because she is a guide. She has her torches. She will lead you on this path. In all different directions of it, and not just in the triple-headed, mother, maiden, crone, more new agey version that she has been created into. She is much, much more than that. But
She's the anima mundi. She's the
yes,
animal in
the
the
soul
world
of the world.
soul.
Yeah.
You are welcome, Nocturne, for that information. Please, brother, if you're doing rituals out there, cleanse yourself. Use some different plants for spiritual baths, fumigations. Take some shit that'll make you poop. Clean it all out. I'm telling you, it's a necessity. And yes, Hecate, folks, is one of the greatest spirits you could ever work with. She's goddess of the crossroads, the anima mundi, world soul. She is the psychopomp who leads the dead to the spirit world and the spirits back to the world that we live in, our plane of existence, to communicate during necromancy. She is the intermediate spirit to help you connect with demons of all different sorts, and one of the protectors to keep you safe. She is the mother of the hounds, the mothers of the ghosts, the Grigori.
Mothers of us.
Yeah, she's a wonderful spirit to work with. And not Grigori angels, excuse me. The Greys and the Graces. I didn't mean to say Grigori. Grigori would be the fallen angels. My mind was distracted there. She is amazing, says Britt. She certainly is. Now, let's jump into a little bit of a sidetrack here. We talked about spirits. We talked about, the paranormal. Tell us about your shop and how that's taken on a life of its own. I mean, obviously, originally we're online, moved to a brick and mortar, started out getting a bearing for yourself. What do I do? Let's have speeches and lessons and talks and rituals and bead making shops and malas and all this. So you've come from just a basic idea of I'm opening a shop to something that I find truly beautiful, that you've done a very good job for. You have quite a following. It obviously shows in our contact or our comments. You have a lot of people that come out and support the shop because of your love and because of your support towards them. So tell us how that's grown over the last couple of years.
So, well, but on that love and support, I actually was just talking about this with someone earlier. God, I'm losing my voice. It's so important to me that you are not coming to me for just to get the product or to, okay, well, Natasha, I need you to read my cards because I need to know the answer to this question, or I need you to do this spell for me because I can't do it on my own, or I need you to, write this for me because I can't, like, I don't want to do it for you. I want to teach you how to do it yourself. I want to show you, we say own your power. Like, I want to show you that you can do it, not that you just have to, flash me some cash to do it. Like, it is so important, and it has become more and more over the years, for me to just want to shake people and try to get them to wake up and to wake up to what they're capable of, when they even put a teeny tad of effort into their own healing. Because I will call myself a healer. I do work with people's energies. I do work with counseling services, but I'm not going to heal you. You are going to heal you, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So that's what's become very important to me. And as far as the shop goes, so the first year, you're right, we didn't know where we were going with it, me and Britt, and what we were in for, really, because the whole thing was I just wanted to make some oils. I worked at the crisis center, like I was stressed all the time. My coworkers were stressed. I was like, I'm gonna make some nice oils for us, like spell them up a little bit. And then suddenly now we have what we, jokingly refer to as a local butler cult. Mostly jokingly. So the first year it was much more like community like oriented and like building the community and having the rituals, which were extremely more like pagan. I don't want to say Wiccan, but more like pagan based. I didn't bring, while I was open about my practice, I was going through a lot of changes in my practice myself, and I didn't bring a lot of that into the ritual work that we did at the shop as a group. Second year, we like jumped to the other side. So we were like, these rituals aren't like quite hitting home enough for us. We feel like we're not being authentic enough, Britt and I. Like, we want to really work things like our way. So we're going to start like seeing how far we can press everybody, how far we can, push the ball, and if people are going to show up. And the wild thing to me is that no matter how crazy the idea got, no matter how hard the rituals went, more people showed up, and then more people showed up. And it seemed like the more authentic we stayed to ourselves, the more people were coming. I will not forget, in that second year, we did a ritual to Lilith, and it was a cleanse of sorts. And I said to some of my friends, I was like, listen, I have this idea. I want to get a baby pool, like a swimming pool, and I want to put it in the middle of the room, and then I want to fill it with blood. And we're going to do a cleanse. Not human blood, no, animal blood. We packed it. We could not fit more people in the building, and it was one of the most powerful rituals I have ever experienced in my life. And it's TMI, so I won't go into like the details. I know, Frater, like some of that with the blood and stuff, but the current of energy that hit that night was insane. And I'm just so proud of the people that have put their faith in me and Britt, that have put their trust in us, and that keep showing up over and over and over again because they want to go farther. Like it's do better, like every day. Better version of yourself. You're never at the top version. Keep going farther. So that being said, this year, I'm trying to keep a nice balance. So we've got like the 8 Sabbats and stuff that we're doing much more like pagan based, family friendly, not like made for kids, but the kids are welcome. And then we're doing the rituals that are more our way. Which will hopefully be just as intense and satisfying as the ones from last year. And the way things are going, I think that will be the case. We do a lot of speakers. I know both of you guys are going to be speaking at the shop soon. So I know Frater's speaking March 13th, and Dan, you're speaking April 3rd, right? Yeah. So the lecture series started last year. And that was important to me because I wanted to give a platform for other people that practice to come in and speak and teach. And we're very big on teaching there. I ran an intuitive course. It was an 8-week-long course based on intuitive witchcraft by Astria Taylor. That ran 3 sessions and was amazing every time. And I've seen, tons of changes in people from that. We start a shadow work course next month. It's a 4-week course on digging into the shadow. That's going to be great. Last year we did a course on Lilith that was 5 weeks, which was actually ritual based. Had some incredible experiences with that. Like we have really turned it from a place that just sold some oils into just a place where we are just trying to watch everybody grow. Like grow with us, because I'm still growing at the same time. So that's what I say to them constantly is, just do it with me, grow with me.
No, you've done a great job. Like I said, great speakers. We're both looking forward to coming there and speaking about different topics. Mine's on ceremonial magic. Dan is talking about cryptids and getting into that experience. How do you look for them? What kind of things can you expect? And why do we not see more evidence released on them? So, we'll both be diving into different topics, but very deep topics. So, if you're in the area, please feel free to stop in and check them out. Check out the other speakers that are at her shop this year. The public rituals, the classes, everything that they do is wonderful. Nocturne, I know you asked a question I just had up a second ago and I lost it, but it says, do you do any type of counseling work, or do you have any type of counseling work available in New York? Well, we're in Pennsylvania.
I do.
Not to say that there couldn't be counseling over
I do
video,
pretty
because
well.
Natasha does do that. So you could reach out to her. She does have not only customers around the United States, but she does have customers in other countries as well. You have to tell me how you hired the Batman. I'm jealous. I could have used him with that chick jumped me behind the dumpster. Listen, he would have watched this Batman's kind of sick, man. He's not the same type of Batman you might think.
Listen, we have a question that I was actually hoping to bring up tonight. I have a follow-up for this, but the Black Magician says, have we gone into the Miami Mall incident yet, Freighter Crow? So yes, as a matter of fact, I'll answer for Freighter because clearly you addressed it to him, but here I am talking.
No, go ahead.
If we're going to talk, if anybody mentions aliens on my show, okay, I'm the first one to speak up.
I think you should be.
We do have a follow-up. So we covered this, 2 episodes ago?
Yeah, I think it was 2 episodes ago.
Right. So we talked about it in theory. You brought it up, but I actually have an update in regards to what that was. So if people have ever heard about Antarctica and the things that go down there, anything in terms of like breakaway civilizations, secret societies, shadow governments, we have massive whole world of the unknown in Antarctica. One of them being military bases that work with deep breakaway factions of our government. And these factions work directly with malevolent, free will infringing extraterrestrials. Not the nice guys, but the ones that, are giving us a lot of fucking trouble on planet Earth. So the Florida incident was the testing of a technology where they're seeing if they can open portal systems from other parts of the planet. And through that portal system, they want to see if they can send astral entities or physical extraterrestrials in the same density as us through these portals and have them literally just appear in random places. So this was a testing. It was a testing in a sense of, can they effectively get these portals to send entities through when and however they want and however many numbers they want. So this is actually a really bad sign. It's not really a positive thing at all, because anytime you're having that type of interference with the human awareness in terms of like people in public, we're talking like a mall in Florida in the United States. Anytime you do something like that, that reaches mainstream awareness, it causes fear, it causes anxiety. It looks like, to a degree, was a little bit of infringement, privacy infringement of the human collective, free will infringement in terms of like our safety. Anytime anything like that happens, it's fear-based. You can instantly qualify and validate the fact that those were negative extraterrestrials doing things that they're not supposed to be doing, which is violating the Prime Directive. So that's new information that I have now in regards to that particular event. Before I didn't really know what it was. I had my assumptions, but now some evidence has come through that it was the testing of portal systems. And now that they know that that works, just use your imagination of what they're capable of doing, or rather not what they're capable of doing, because I'm sure they've had portals like this for a long time, but imagine what they're willing to do to fuck with us.
Well, in a big thing folks look into, and I'm not saying they're the ones behind the Florida incident, but look into CERN. Just really look into the Hadron Collider. Look into the party that CERN threw whenever they launched their base overseas. It was a very satanic ritual. Now, Satan takes a lot of different levels, so Satan can be different for someone else than it is for me. But it was a very satanic ritual with Baphomet's dancing around and flames and devils, and
It's pretty wild to witness. Google it.
yeah. I
YouTube
mean,
it.
it was a public event where they literally did not hold back. They're like, we are a bunch of people trying to bring through devils. Now, I'm going to share a secret with you guys. This is a big one. This I talked about with the mall incident how it also could be related to the drying of the Euphrates River basin and the letting loose of several Grigori Nephilim angelic consciousnesses that have been imprisoned since days old, that were prophesized in Revelations, that were prophesized throughout other areas of both canonical and non-canonical Bible scriptures. This is accurate. There was things let loose. Now, people are expecting to see giants rise from the soil. They're, unless you're very tuned into your perceptions, they're just like spirits, folks. They are spirits. You're not going to see them. They're not physical unless they want to be shown as physical, but they were released upon the world. But people say, oh my God, this is happening now. There's a lot of things I won't say, but there's a few things I will let loose that since about the World War II era, about the 1940s, there has been a gateway opened that let through ancient gods that have been here ever since. There is something called the Black Trinity. The Black Trinity is Baal and all of his facets, mainly Baal-zebub or Baal-zebul. There is his consort, Ishtar, Inanna, Venus. You can call her by many different names. And then there is Molech and his brother, or Adramelech. And these three form the Black Trinity. And they were let loose over the last several generations to make massive changes in this world, to the collective unconscious, into this world. This is true devil worship, folks. And what people don't understand, and I could be on very opposing sides to what a lot of people are hearing, because they're going to say, well, this is horrible. And yeah, it is. But sometimes you have to shake the pot. And what did they bring? Well, they brought a lot of different looks. They brought a lot of different chaos to the world. They brought a lot of war, because there was always war. When they existed in the planet thousands of years ago, there was war between the gods and between the nations. They're back, and they're taking back what was theirs, and they're causing war, and they're causing strife. Ishtar came. What became popular? Pornography and ways of living with sexual rights and things that were never talked about. Go back to our grandparents' age. It was barely even talked about in public. To what we have now, where it's become second nature to see the most graphic of things. Molech came, and what happened? Child sacrifice began through abortion, through being a lot more open. Now, once again, you could say these are horrible things. I'm not necessarily against any of this. I'm just stating that during World War II, people think that the Germans were only killing the Jews because they wanted an Aryan nation, but they were wiping out the race of the enemies that they sought to eradicate, because they were the holy people, the chosen one of Yahweh, the Demiurgos, the Demiurge. And they were experimenting heavily with portal systems to open up gates to other worlds, to bring back the ancient gods.
Right.
And they did just that.
Yes,
what does it take to create the most powerful rituals, folks? Blood. What did they give a lot of? Blood. They murdered millions and millions of people that were their enemies, that were the apocalyptes or the apostles of another nation's gods who were the enemies of theirs. And they opened up one of the biggest wormholes to ever exist ever in history. And they let through the unholy Black Trinity, who has changed every generation since the 40s. Think about the 40s. Go back and research what life was like, not only in America, but around the world. And then look how all of those things I just slightly touched on started to change and completely flipped our culture. Why is AI so big right now? Because you lose yourself inside of a world where you can be governed. The sides are battling back and forth for control of the spark that is you. And what was one of the big things that this unholy Black Trinity caused? People to build massive dams in Iran and Iraq and across that area to dry up the water because of their own selfish needs for the water, causing the Euphrates to dry. seems like it's unrelated, but by drying, it unleashed the 4 angels of the apocalypse that were talked about in Revelation. That wasn't an accident. Folks, this is doomsday scenarios that are happening right now. And will they play out to be doomsday? We don't know. I guess we'll have to wait around and see, and will be in our lifetime, our kids or our grandkids' lifetime. We don't know, but this is the last chapter. Whether it's a couple more pages or it's several more, this is the last chapter. So brace yourself, buckle in, and enjoy it. So about the mall in Florida, there's reasons for all of this because it's all happening now. You've been seeing the beautiful grand symphony of the battle of your soul by forces way, way beyond us. Let's catch back up to some of these posts here.
Oh, fuck.
And people are going to really start thinking about that and say, hold on.
Thank you so much. I'm going to get so many people tomorrow like, oh, wait, God, what do we do? Like,
if you guys want to, and I mean, this is something that I was already aware of, but there was recently, and let me pull it up real quick. There was recently a book. It's not that recent, I don't think. It's called The Return of the Gods. Something you guys should look up and read. Phenomenal book. It talks about just that. It talks about the fact that the gods once existed and they were very powerful in certain ways. They were forced back through Christianity and through the worship of Jesus. It's a very religious type book and on the right-hand type side. But it's saying that the forces of the evil are coming back and they're taking back the world. The ancient gods are here, folks. And like I said, a lot of people are gonna be like, holy shit, this is horrible. I don't know. I have a front row seat and I'm kind of,
I'm here for it.
I'm here for it.
I'm also here for it. So.
Do I necessarily agree with all of the things that are happening in the world? No. Do I think abortion needs to happen in every case? No. Am I completely against it? No, I'm not. Am I completely against porn? No, I'm not. Do I think in ways that it's kind of fucked up and there's some shit out there that I'm not into? Absolutely. But you know what? You take the good with the bad. There's a lot of crazy shit out there. I heard some theories about Bigfoot being part Nephilim. What's your thoughts on that? I would say different. No, I would say it's a completely separate thing. Nephilim in the sense that you want to call it a giant. Yeah, Bigfoots are big, but the Nephilim would destroy the Yeti. It would be a different type of thing. You just absolutely blew my mind, says Hunter. That's way cooler than finding out Daniel was Batman. I just started my spiritual awakening. I can't all end soon. Listen, Addie, you've already been here a million times. Stop holding on to your ego. Addie's gonna die.
Addie.
And that's okay.
Addie, everything's fine. Just breathe. Don't worry about it. You're doing great. Everything's fine.
What you said,
that's what you said
about fighting, it reminds me of the LGBT community. I might explain why in my email. Not sure exactly where we're going with that, but that's okay. Bigfoot and Yeti are way closer to the Fae. Don't bring the fucking Fae up. Listen, I've had run-ins with fairies, folks.
I don't want to talk about
it. I would agree with that statement, though. They are closer to that realm.
Ragnarok. Addie, calm down. Listen, like I said, the thing is, you assume that you haven't already awoken before. What do you do after you wake up? You go back to sleep, right? We've all been awakened before. We've all went back to sleep. When you die, the thing is, you operate, when you associate yourself with your lower animalistic self, your lower nature, you go into that clouded persona of Frater Crow, right? And when that dies, your understanding of reality dies. So when you inhabit a new body, you take on a new vessel, a new avatar, a new ego. That's why you don't remember anything. But if you can learn to tap into that higher consciousness, that remembers everything. That's the difference. Right. Those who don't escape the lower soul die in the lower soul to be reborn in the lower soul.
Right.
Those who ascend beyond it continue on it. That's why the whole point is to ascend beyond the firmament, ascend beyond your lower self to super consciousness.
Right.
Because then you don't have to come back and keep being erased. But if you don't, when you die, you only ever knew yourself as yourself, the false self. So you're born again into another false self. You just get to, it's like you playing in Broadway. You just get to put a bunch of fucking costumes on and play all kinds of different people, but you're never that person.
Repeats and repeats and repeats.
It's exhausting.
Some Nocturne said Krampus is Fae.
Yo, I think we reached a milestone tonight
with these comments.
Restream says you've received 100 messages today with Restream chat. I don't know. It's like the most messages we've ever gotten.
Look at that, guys. Look at that.
I think I do have to say, I think Natasha did destroy the comment section.
You're setting some records tonight. You might have to like open the show with us and just be like, be here for the first 10 minutes to get our numbers up, and then you can
And then
go.
we'll boot you.
Leave.
We'll just slap your face up. People will jump in, and then we'll just kick you right off.
Just every night, make a Facebook post that you're live on Celestial Oddities, and then people will join it. It'll be just be Frater and I, but we'll have like a picture of you up in the background.
Well, listen, once we return, down the road, maybe we'll have to have you on a good bit more, as more of a permanent type of thing, but then it would be weird because I don't know how to really name that. We're the pair of normal guys, and you're not a guy, and we're not a pair anymore. So I don't know.
Paranormal guys and this chick.
Yeah. P.O.N.G +1. No, Luke, that's okay to ask questions like that. I mean, I would just say that I think the Nephilim are different. I think that Yeti are close to relationship to us, but they're genetically different. I think that, why do they call it the missing link? Because they have a part of their genetic code that we don't.
Right.
But this is also can be explained in Genesis. You can look this up in other things. The Sumerian tablets talk about the fact that Genesis is the generation and genetics of Isis, that she took the original earthlings before Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve weren't the original earthlings. She took them. They were kind of more primates of sorts. They weren't that advanced, and we were supposed to be a slave race from the Anunnaki. We are the Anunnaki. We are the race that they created, and they took genetics and she put them inside of her womb, and then she bore out Adamus, and then they couldn't get a woman right, so they ended up taking from his rib, and the taking of his rib actually was the DNA from his rib to create a woman who is his clone, which is his clone sister Eve, and so forth. We're not going to get into all that, but what I'm saying is that you have to look deeper into it. There's a lot of stuff out there, and that's not my research there by any means. I'm not claiming that. That is out there. There's different specialists out there that can, talk about that. But, missing link, I think that the Yeti were once probably much more abundant on this world, and we eradicated them, but we also used their genes to make us, or something used their genes to make us, not us. But that's kind of how it went down. Maybe off topic, but why do you think, from a spiritual perspective, people are born in the wrong body? Trans people. I think it could be a confliction of balance. That's a tough subject because it could be touchy.
Can I answer that?
Yeah, please do. And then I want Natasha to give a perspective on that as well. And then I'll wrap up on the end of that with just one thing.
So the idea of, transitioning from one sex to another from a spiritual perspective is oftentimes, from my understanding, speaking for myself, you originate, your soul, your consciousness, it has another origin point. And there is a possibility that wherever your innate reality is, that you're more familiar with, more comfortable with, you are a particular gender, and people oftentimes come to Earth to experience a wide variety of different things that you, for lack of a better description, can't do other places, or it just doesn't happen other places. So you can come to Earth and you can explore the idea of what it means to be the opposite sex in a situation from a soul's perspective where you just commonly aren't. And you can get a lot of value from the experience of, being, in a sense, changing like that. That's one way you could look at it. From the idea that in other species, other races other than human, it just isn't a thing. And you can do that here. It's one viable, relevant thing you can explore for the sake of growth of your soul, of your consciousness. It's one way to look at it.
Well, and real quick, I do want to jump in because the Black Magician just said something similar to what I was going to say, is that you could have, if you remember me a little bit ago saying you have to reach a certain level where you break the psyche, you break the ego, the lower animalistic self, and start to ascend into the higher super consciousness so that you don't come back. Doesn't mean you don't come back. It just means you come back more elevated next life. What can happen is you can be on the precipice, the cusp of that, where you're just about to pop through the bubble. Right. And just as you're starting to tear through, you pass and you come back again. So you're a mixture of almost super consciousness, but still animalistic consciousness. Know that you're something more, but still trapped into who you were. And then when you're thrown into a new body, if you were a man and thrown into a woman's body or vice versa, you're still then retaining pieces of your old life. So you're like, well, I was a woman but I'm a man in this body, or vice versa. And then you become really confused because you're like, I swear I feel like a woman. My thoughts are like a woman. I'm experiencing things like a woman, but I'm in this man's body. It's because you are now a converged essence of your last life in this life, because your last life was so close to breaking free, but you got pulled back here, but you pulled a little bit of residue from that old life into the new one. And now you're kind of two different things in one body, which makes for chaos of the mind. So you must work even harder than an average individual for equilibrium, pulling both pillars of severity and mercy to the pillar of beauty in the middle, become the middle pillar. Equilibrium is important in ritual magic, but it's very important into someone who's having identity crisis or sexual crisis. In the case of trans or anything like that, you have to work even harder to balance that, or else it'll fucking pull you all over the place and really have a hell of a time. Natasha, your thoughts?
So I'm going to agree with both of you. Like, I can get on board with both of those perspectives. My only other add-on to that, and people don't always like when I say this, but you chose, like, you chose this. You came on the same concept as like soul pods and soul families, people we see again. Don't say it like that. What's the author? Journey of Souls author.
Journey of Souls by Michael Newton. Soul Cluster.
There you go. Thank you. So he, in his book, said something that just always stuck with me, which was that, you chose this. And there was a visual representation that one of his clients, when he would take them back through regression, take them back through to their past lives and their deaths and everything. And when they're there, it's almost like this giant like computer screen, right? And you have all the television screens and you're watching the lives play out. You're watching everything that's going to happen to you, all of the good shit, all of the bad shit. And then you choose. And when we talk about the soul pods, the after effect of that is you go back to like soul school. So your soul pod is really, think of it like a classroom. Like you're all in this classroom, like learning these lessons together and stuff. And you come down here to experience, right, the good and the bad, because like Dan said with the bodies, maybe you can't experience the body where you were before. Like you can't experience human emotion without being human. So you can't experience love or lust or joy or
sometimes even gender at all.
Exactly. Or the opposite, you can't hate and rage and suffering. And sometimes we do choose that. And it's never, it's not a victimizing thing or a blaming thing. It's part of what I believe. And I've been through some shit like that I would be like, I did not fucking choose that. But no, I probably did on one level because I needed to,
right.
There's
the way
always
I choose to look at it, to zoom out and try to see it bigger than our limited way.
Yes, you have to step. I get told this a lot. You have to step outside of you and see from an outside perspective. That's so important in this.
Mindfulness, I push that heavily, is that mindfulness is take a look at yourself outside of yourself. Why do you do the things you do?
Mm-hmm.
You really have to concentrate. It actually is a very hard job. It'll tire you out at first, but you get used to it. Throughout the day, as you're talking to your friends, your lovers, your family, your co-workers, as you're doing regular mundane tasks, as you're driving to work or driving just for fun, for leisure, step outside of yourself as a third person perspective and observe you from that eyeball. Because what you'll realize, we're only tricked into seeing out of these eyes. Your imagination is much more than imagination. You can actually visualize yourself outside of yourself, viewing you. And if you do it long enough, you can actually see it. And you're like, holy shit, these eyes are useless because I can see, I am omnipotent. I am omnipresent. It's because you are. This is the fucking trapping. So when you do that and start watching yourself, you'll realize a lot of things about yourself. Why do I do that? Because they're pre-programmed notions. Why do I act a certain way? Because I don't necessarily, have you ever blown up about something for no reason? Your family does something and you can flip out, and then you step outside yourself and look and you're like, why would that even make me mad? That's just weird, because it's just a habit to snap on that for no reason. We program it. So you start to look to dissolve that ego, that programming, that wrapping, and find out who you truly are. Natasha said Exactly. And Natasha said you picked certain things in life too prior to this life coming back. Maybe certain bad events are going to happen to you to experience them for certain reasons, but they cause a fractalization of the ego. Trauma is the biggest reason for trans people. I don't care what anybody says. It's my own opinion. No one has to agree with it. I don't give a shit either way. But I think that trauma causes a fractalization of your identity. And a fractalization of your identity can take many different repressed forms. And one of them can be confusion of your identity. So you have to do a dark night of the soul. But a dark night of the soul is much more than this new age fancy bullshit. It is truly going in and facing into the hallways, into the realms, into the tunnels, your inner consciousness and psyche, which is much more than yours or Dan's or Natasha's or mine. It is truly a place that exists. It's like an astral temple. It is a real existence outside the flesh, which is actually the more real universe out there. So that's something I would say. You did ask Mercy Severity. That's a Mudvayne song. Maybe that's what it's about. I'm not sure off the top of my head. I haven't listened to them in a while. But a Kabbalistic pillars, you have the melistic principle of severity, or of mercy, and then you have the female principle of severity. They're the two pillars, and then you have the pillar of beauty, which is the middle pillar. This is Kabbalistic tenets. Which, speaking of which, shameful plug, next year, Little Shop of Lilith, 6-week course, in-depth Kabbalistic theory. Frater Crow is the teacher. Sign up now. Although I don't have sign-ups open, but just
there are no sign-ups open. Nobody call me about that. It's not a thing yet.
There will be a class, and guys, it will be mind-bending. If you think you're interested and you're listening and you're local, you should join it. It'll be 6 weeks of fucking mind-bending information to show you how the world was created, how gods were created, how you were created, planets, colors, notes, demons, angels, archetypes, thought forms, everything. I'm going to give you the keys to the universe, baby, and you're going to love it.
But next year. Right now, worry about the two of them speaking in the next 2 months. Do those. You're giving me anxiety. I have so much to plan.
Do you think the gods choose to come down for a human experience? I don't.
I also do not.
Yeah, well, here's the tricky part, Stacy. What are gods?
I was about to say, I mean, we are gods here by choice.
Right.
Well, I mean, true God is the omnipotent source. It has no name. It cares about no identities. It is a cluster of energy waves that pulses out throughout the universe, multiple universes, and that is God. But then you have the subtypes underneath him, you know, the demigods, which are called gods, like Yahweh and Samael and these different spirits. But there's reasons for them, and then you have spirits under them. So there's a whole hierarchy there. That's why there are hierarchies. There's legions of demons and choirs of angels, because there is a kind of a it's Batman. There is a staggered, form there. Now, do I think that they can possess people? Yes. Do I think that maybe you have roots of some of these spirits with them? Do I think that you worked under them? Yes. Do I think angels and demons have taken forms in human bodies? Yes. Do I think gods do? Well, that's a tricky question. We could get into that sometime, but it's much more than the scope of this show this evening. I'm just reading some. I'm not going to pop up all these. Sign me up. Great. Addie, check it out when it comes out. It'll be worth it. You will walk away much more advanced than when you started and much more confused at the same time. I'm fucking in for that. I can't wait, Natasha. I'm not sure if you're talking about her classes or mine, but I promise you it'll be my magnum opus. I've studied the Kabbalah in every form. So we'll be talking about the Etz Chaim and the Hekalot, Sitra Akra, and the Klipos. So we'll be talking about the Etz Chaim, the tree of life, the Hekalot, Sitra Akra, the kingdoms of hell, the kingdoms of the other side, and the Klipoth, the shells, the husks of the tree of life. It's shadowed reversal. Daemon est Deus inversus, the devil is God upside down. We're going to talk about that mirrored universe and how that all works. What do we got here? It seems to be universal amongst those who have the memories that Earth and its experiences are the like. The toughest realm a soul can choose, with the greatest merit and reward if you ascend through. Well, this is hell. I mean,
Welcome to hell.
no, it's fancy to say that, like, oh, we are in hell. No, we are. See, like, you have to understand that this is the lowest plane of existence. Yes, there is a dimensional lower level than us where, you know, you could call the Sithrak or the Qlipoth, but that's still attached to this world.
We're pretty close.
We're very close. They're right under our feet. So, you know, there are realms above. So with being the lowest, that's why we have so many things we can call out to, because they can come down and help us and choose to help us. We don't control what's above us. They control us, but we can work with them. The demons are below us, or the chthonic beings. That's why we can evoke them and constrain them, because we are a realm above them. That's also why we're so important, because we are what the gods are envious of. People forget that. People always say humans envy the gods, but the gods envy humans. They are spirit and will always be spirit. They wish to be in flesh, to feel, to taste, to fuck, to be able to do all these things that they can't do. We are the conduit between, the mediator. We are flesh and sensatory objects while also being omnipresent, ever-living beings. And we are both in one. We are gods in the flesh, experiencing a physical, sensatory reality. So while it is hell, folks, and we are here to learn lessons, who says you can't enjoy hell? There's beautiful sights here. We are a Nexian of cosmic proportions. We are. Now, before we finish up, because I know we're getting up.
I got 5% battery on my phone.
Oh, shit. We're soon to end.
That's about 2 minutes.
I would say, Natasha, you know, what is next for you? Obviously, more things coming for the shop, more things coming for the group. You're something we didn't talk much on tonight, and we really can't, is you are a major role in the coterie of Samil, and there's going to be a lot coming up with that. But I mean, all of these things taken into consideration, what's up? What's next for Natasha?
Right now, my personal practice, what I'm doing is very important. It sounds so lame. My personal shit's real important to me right now. So that is coming first and foremost. And I am more than willing to, you know, continue what I'm doing. I love what I'm doing. I guarantee you that we are going to be, you know, bigger than we've been the last 2 years, because we just keep growing. So growth in all areas is just my goal right now, whether it be the shop or my practice, or the coterie, which, yeah, I won't go into that, but yeah, just growth, period.
And you heard it, folks. It's all about growth. If you're not growing, what's the point? You should
Stagnancy is death.
Stagnancy is death, and you should find a way to constantly perfect and work every angle of yourself. And people will talk about doing it, but they don't. We are fucking soldiers, and you need to be and live like one. That means sleeping right, eating right, breathing right, stretching, cardio, lifting. That means reading, researching, doing crossword puzzles if you need to. That means doing ritual, energy harnessing, meditation, yoga. That means ritual and everything in between. You touch physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual bodies. The fourfold universe, the fourfold of the human. We'll talk about that in our lecture next year, our class. We'll talk about the Nefesh and the Neshima. We'll talk about Atziluth and Braya and Asaya and all these different 4 forms of world and 4 forms of animal self. But that is important to touch them and to shape them, because if you don't, you are dying and you'll fucking be here forever. It's like Natasha's mom, you know, said that, you know, no, I don't want to come back. Well, then you better put in that legwork, you know what I mean, to get there, because if you don't, you will be here. You know, and the thing is, it's not a loss. As long as you've made it to here, when you die and come back, you might be here, but you'll be here, which is
so
close
much
to
quicker,
rather than down here. You pick back up the ball. It's like fumbling and then picking it back up. You don't start back where you started. It's right where you dropped it. You pick it up and keep running with it. And eventually you'll make it to the end zone. And that's what we're all here for, to make it to the end zone, 3%. To grow.
3%. Hi, Laura.
3%.
Yeah.
3%. Hi, Laura. Thank you for tuning in.
She's just going to, Natasha's screen is going to just collapse and disappear.
If it does, we've really enjoyed having you. Thank you for bringing the 5,000 viewers with you.
You're so welcome.
It's nice to actually feel like people want to listen to our show, but it's just because of you. I'm an old soul because I've spent too many lifetimes staying stagnant. Well, that's the problem, man. You got to break free of that. You gotta perfect yourself. It's not easy. Anybody can fail. Failure is easy. Fuck, you don't have to do anything to fail, but to succeed, you have to do everything, and that's the problem. So it's all about pushing yourself.
I've failed a million times. You have to keep getting back up. That's the difference. So.
Pain equals pleasure. Pain equals paradise. Put yourself through the tortures and the pain to become perfected, to become the divine being.
We have such sights to show you.
Exactly. And that's it. You know, he said it in the movie. We have such sights to show you because we do. If you're willing to journey to hell and go through the pain, tears are wasting of good suffering.
What is your pleasure, sir?
It's all there. I mean, there's a lot of reasons to the things they say in these movies. Hey, Kelvin, thank you
Don't
so
even get
much.
me started on that.
Exactly. Kelvin, thank you so much for tuning in, brother. You've been such a great supporter of the shows over the years. Thanks. That makes me feel a lot better. Thank you. This was a great show. I love to reflect on. That's the other thing with the fourfold: reflection, introspection. Constantly reflect on yourself and the things around you, and constantly look at the world around you and contemplate different, deeper meanings.
She knows.
She knows. You want to fucking grow yourself, folks? Read the Bible. And everybody's going to say, wait, what did he say? Read the fucking Bible and reflect on it. Reflect on the 7 layers deeper than what it says in the base story, because it's one of the greatest stories ever written. Even if they tainted it and changed it, keep reading it, keep reflecting deeper. And I guarantee you're going to find mysteries out that you don't know that are going to change you, even if you're a Satanist.
Yes, I agree.
Anything else you want to say, guys, before we for the night? Nope. I think we're at a silence, folks. I see a lot of people.
Sorry, you meant us. I'm like looking for the commenters.
Yeah, I haven't met you guys, but I see people clicking the buy me a coffee icon.
Good.
I'm
Coffee. Donate.
Grateful to hang out with my friends.
Me too.
Your coffee energizes us through our days, and your support gets us week to week. So buy us a coffee. We would appreciate it.
Balance.
Balance equals everything. Equilibrium is life.
Yes,
become the middle pillar, the pillar of beauty. Natasha, it has been truly a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on the show again.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it. It's always a good time.
And we're going to finish it with Daniel doing a Batman outro.
What is that? What does he say? Like,
I don't even know what that means.
When times get dark, I will rise again.
He never said that, bro.
I know he didn't. I'm saying that sounds like some Batman shit that I'd say if I was Batman. Good night, Kelvin.
Good night.
All right, guys. Well, we love you. We appreciate your support. Email us at celestialoddities@gmail.com with anything you want to see us do differently, people you want to see us have on the show, anything like that. Thoughts on tonight's show. Check out the Celestial Oddities Pair of Normal Guys podcast Facebook page, where they have a community. You can talk to other people, mix and mingle. We always appreciate having you on there. And catch us next week for another episode of P.O.N.G, Pair of Normal Guys podcast. We'll catch you next time, guys. Have a great night.